Market manipulation. This has been a topic of discussion on this channel since the inception, and even prior to that, people have talked about market manipulation since the dawn of time, and it's because it happens. In fact, it's something that is happening right now, 24/7, 365. The biggest players out there, the big banks, asset managers, they all do it. And what's crazy is that we have confirmation of it. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, they've all been hit with fines from the SEC regarding precious metals manipulation. But we already know that the stock market's manipulated. All of the markets out there are manipulated. But what if I told you that there's actually a bigger plan here? Like, for an example, BlackRock, the largest asset manager out there, they have Aladdin, which is an AI trading platform, which manipulates the market in their favor. We know this is true. We've done research on it. But what if I told you that there's a bigger plan happening right now? And it does have to pertain to crypto. Well, we're going to talk about it, so sit back, relax. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on into this update that we got recently, which was just in. President Trump's economic advisor has says there was no insider trading at the White House. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I'm 100% sold that there's no insider trading at the White House. What about some of the recent updates that we just got? Like this one. This is unusual. Marjorie Taylor Greene said on April 7th that people panicking over tariffs were losers and failures. On April 8th and 9th, she just refiled her trade, showing that she bought hundreds of thousands of dollars in stocks, which, includes all of these stocks here, and much more when the market was deeply red. On April 9th, seemingly after the purchases, Trump announced his pause on tariffs. Then the stock market boomed. Here we have all of her purchases. Very interesting. The question is, how did she know? How did she know when to buy, and how did she know when to buy at a perfect time? Because she did it at a time when the market was deeply in red, and then, of course, all of a sudden, boom, there's a pause on tariffs, and the stock market booms. Again, this is market manipulation. There's been market manipulation happening for years and years and years, and when I say years, I mean decades. All right, it's been happening forever. And recently, I've been putting a spotlight on this. Even around the tariff announcements, I said tariff announcements on a Sunday, while the stock market is closed, classic. These markets are being heavily manipulated. We just witnessed Jim Cramer flip peak bearish for tomorrow while markets sold off into the weekly close. I think now is the time to take a moment to think logically. We are now in extreme fear and a bearish environment. We're either seeing the bottom here or close to it. And this is the best way to win, right? Is really kind of looking at what these big politicians are doing, or looking at what the big players are telling us, and then gauging that with retail sentiment. That's how you win. When retail is extremely happy, you want to be bearish. If retail is very negative and fearful and they're scared, they're concerned, you typically want to be bullish. Now, does it work out all the time like that? Not exactly, but for the most part, it does. But even more, recently with the announcement of like XRP, Solana, and ADA and all of them, being included in the strategic reserve. And then all of a sudden, boom, we get a flip. And now all of a sudden it's a stockpile. Like that was clear market manipulation as well. And again, we got gaslit by David Sachs talking about this and addressing it because these altcoins did surge. And you know what's funny about this? We have on-chain data that tells us that big whales were buying these altcoins before the announcement. Who are those whales? We have no idea. And then after the announcement and after everything surged, there was big clips being sold off around all of these big altcoins, XRP, Solana, ADA. So I do question, are we just being manipulated by all of the big players, or what's the real plan of action behind all of this? Well, first we start off with Jamie Dimon, because this just recently happened. So Jamie Dimon sold $31.5 million in JPM stock. And this is 133,639 shares of the company's stock, amounting to approximately 31.5 million. The transaction follows the previous sale of 233.7 million in February. Discussions on social media platforms speculate on the implications, ranging from personal financial management to potential insider views on market conditions. Financial analysts suggest that this could be part of a prearranged trading plan rather than a signal of distress. Now, listen, we already know that when we see big players like Jamie Dimon selling, or even like we go back to like Warren Buffett, right? They don't time the market perfectly. It's more of like a long-term view. So he's selling now, which tells us that there's going to be pain at some point in time. But what's crazier about this is that he did go on mainstream media and he said that a credit crunch is coming. I think you're going to see a slowdown, not yet for defaults, but I expect them. I think you'll see more credit problems than people have seen in a long time. Check it out.
So yeah, I think you're going to see a slowdown. I think the economists are probably right to say that you should expect that.
Well, how significant a slowdown? I mean, are you seeing defaults?
Not yet, but I expect them. And the other thing, which we haven't had any slowdown or real recession, and COVID was so short, I almost don't include it, and so long that if you have rates going up a little bit, and inflation is sticky, and credit spreads are gapping out, which they're going to, I think you'll see more credit problems than people have seen in a long time. So yeah.
So when we hear these discussions, we think one thing, which is we're going to see some pain in the market. Now, a lot of people actually overreact to these big CEOs like JP Morgan, right? Like we look at the big banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi. If any of their CEOs, and in this case, Jamie Dimon, are selling, it means that there's going to be pain, which typically means that a lot of people overreact. Like I remember people overreacting to when Warren Buffett was selling. If you sold when he sold, you missed the massive spike from like November all the way through the month of December and technically like the beginning of January, depending on what you were looking at. But the way that I look at this, we're going to come back to Jamie Dimon because this is a very interesting one. And a lot of people are not looking beyond what he's actually doing here, which is just selling stocks and talking about a credit crunch. Because BlackRock CEO also warned us about something similar. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink moments ago says he's petrified of what Trump is doing. The United States post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not, we are in a recession. If you factor in all of the tariffs, it's going to be quite additive. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something that we've created.
The United States post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are the global destabilizer.
Right. Now,
and
Larry,
that's a very hard thing to say because I pride ourselves of being, bringing the leadership, bringing the conversations. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not, we're in a recession. Yes, I think the market is still underestimating how high inflation can get. If you factor in all the tariffs,
right,
you factor in all these other issues, it's going to be quite additive. I mean, I read in a report that if you just take the tariffs in the cost of home building, the average new home could be up as much as 26%. We already have a housing affordability problem.
None of this sounds any good to me, Larry. I mean, and it's all self-inflicted, by the way. None of it needed to happen.
This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something that we've created. But in the short run, I'm petrified at some of these issues.
Petrified.
Well, let's speak of being petrified.
And of course, you gotta love when mainstream media immediately jumps on the big, the big headline word, petrified. Oh, BlackRock CEO is petrified, and Jamie Dimon is petrified, and these big players are all petrified. When they are telling you this, all right, you got to understand that they know exactly what they're doing. When a CEO like Larry Fink or Jamie Dimon, or in the case of like Warren Buffett, for an example, are talking about, scared or concerned, or the markets are going to do this or markets are going to do that, they are terrifying retail. They know that retail is listening. They know that they're going to shake the tree. But if you look beyond what they're telling you and you look at the moves that the companies are actually making, like JP Morgan recently, announcing Connexis, which was back in November. This is a product that's focused on tokenization and blockchain technology. Okay? And this was around Onyx, by the way. It was originally Onyx. Now this is starting to get rebranded, and now they're looking into FX. They're looking into specific things around tokenization. They're even talking about on-chain privacy, identity, composability, and also guess who announced a few things as well around digital ID? BlackRock. But here we have JP Morgan rolls out GBP blockchain payments, extending Euro and USD offerings. And again, when we're thinking about this, okay, it's all based around their original blockchain tech, Onyx, which is now Connexus. So when we think about these big players that are telling us, oh, the markets are going to be extremely, things are going to sell off, I need to sell stocks, or if, BlackRock is telling you that, oh, he's petrified of what's happening here. But even though BlackRock is having a massive amount of balance history with crypto, like we could see their amount of crypto that they've added to their portfolio over the last couple months. I mean, guys, their Bitcoin holdings are at 48.8 billion. Their Ethereum holdings are almost at $2 billion. Like, why do they continue to add to their balance if they're so concerned about what's happening around the markets? Now, obviously, yes, it's tied back to the ETF, so they need to have, their holdings there for the ETF purchases. But at the same exact time, it's not aligning with their view here. If they're petrified, if they're scared, like, why do we continue to see these big companies like JP Morgan, BlackRock, all of the big banks pushing forward with blockchain, and there's acquisitions happening around blockchain as well, and all of a sudden you start to see a lot of investments floating around as well. Like, if they're so concerned about a slowdown and the markets are looking, pretty rough, and the markets are going to get hit, it doesn't make sense on why they continue to push forward. Like, even BlackRock, right? They recently registered as a crypto asset firm in the UK, which signals that they're going to push forward in the UK. They're going to announce a few plans around, crypto and blockchain itself. And then you also think back to just March 31st, when BlackRock released their letter. This is Larry Fink's letter to investors to learn more, where this was all based around tokenization, digital ID, crypto, digital assets, ETFs. Like, when we think about how bullish these big players are on crypto, but they're so bearish on traditional stocks, it's signaling something much bigger happening, which is they're starting to push the crypto, the tokenization, the digital asset narrative in a huge way at the same exact time that they're keeping these markets down, right? Like, all of these headlines, all of the, manipulative, headline articles that are coming out behind these CEOs on like Jamie Dimon selling. That means that, the markets are going to sell off, right? Like, why would he be selling at this point? And even, BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink saying, oh, I'm petrified of what Trump's doing. This is going to be a problem. I think that we might actually already be in a recession, or we were already in a recession. Like, all of this is, in my opinion, it's manipulation of the markets in a sense of allowing the big players like JP Morgan, the big banks, the institutional players, Wall Street, all to jump in on crypto while the prices are down. We look at the prices of altcoins. We look at the prices of, most things around crypto, and they are significantly down. They're at generational lows if you look at the all-time charts. So in my opinion, what BlackRock is doing here, what all of the big players like JP Morgan are doing, it kind of goes back to the whole argument around JP Morgan with Bitcoin. There was a video clip, and I believe it was from Blaze TV, where they were talking about how, JP Morgan was telling, Jamie Dimon specifically was saying that he would fire anyone from JP Morgan that was buying or holding Bitcoin. And then the next day, he was buying Bitcoin offshore in massive amounts. So the manipulation here is very clear. BlackRock is going all in on crypto. JP Morgan is going all in on crypto at the same exact time that they're manipulating traditional stocks, which they know crypto is tied back to. So it allows them to let all of the big players, all the Wall Street giants, to jump in and get a part of, this space, on the lows. Even tokenization endeavors are heating up in a huge way. Some of the biggest players out there are already advancing tokenization discussions, stablecoin discussions at the time where the market is extremely volatile. It's red. Sentiment is down significantly. Nobody really wants to touch crypto. Nobody wants to talk about crypto. But the biggest players out there are already continuing to advance their crypto discussions and their moves that they've been making over the last couple weeks and months. And you know, this is happening at a perfect time where a lot of people are just not looking into this. It's going unnoticed because all they're looking at is what the CEOs of these companies are saying, which is, you know, we're going into the red times of these markets. You know, expect a slowdown, expect us to be in a recession if we're not already in one. This isn't a crisis. This isn't a pandemic. This is something that we've created, and it's going to be a very long battle against this. And oh, you should be bullish or you should be bearish. You shouldn't be bullish at all. You should be selling. You shouldn't be holding anything. You know, prepare for a much larger shock. Like, this is what we've been told for the last couple months. This is why, you know, I stated on multiple occasions that we are seeing market manipulation. Like, this is all market manipulation. I am not going to get shaken out at a time where we continue to see the biggest players out there that are so petrified, so terrified, so, you know, bearish, continuing to advance their crypto moves and continuing to push, you know, crypto and expand their crypto offerings. Like, this was on April 14th. April 14th, where JP Morgan was continuing to push forward on blockchain-based payments at the same exact time that their CEO is telling us that we're going to see a slowdown and, you know, we're going to see a lot of problems. Like, how comical. So when we think about market manipulation, yeah, it's at all-time highs. I think that this is one big joke as well, because we 100% have insider trading at the White House. It's not even a question. We know that this has been going on for decades. It has been a problem forever. Even Congress has been manipulating these markets. They've been doing insider trading forever. A lot of people point out, like Pelosi, for an example. Yeah, it's already out there. It's on chain. Everyone can see this. Even if it's not on chain, it's documented. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.